Hello there, this is Wit-Invent TV and welcome again to the show. In today's video we are going to look at Nigeria's history of violence during elections and consider how recent reports seem to predict ominous outcomes for the country. Let's get started. Nigeria is the most populous nation in Africa, a vibrant multicultural country, and the economic powerhouse of the continent, but behind the impressive numbers and statistics lies a dark and bloody history of electoral violence. Elections in Nigeria have often been tainted by violence, intimidation, and fraud. The first presidential election in Nigeria was held in 1979 and was won by Shehu Shagari of the National Party of Nigeria, NPN. The 1983 election was also won by Shehu Shagari, however it was marred by widespread electoral fraud. The election was annulled by military leader Muhammadu Buhari, who had taken power in a coup. At that period in history, military coups were all the rage globally, but Africa seemed to have suffered the worst. Let us continue. In 1993, Nigeria held another presidential election, which was won by Moshood Abiola of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. But the election was annulled by military ruler Ibrahim Babangida, leading to widespread protest and violence. That crisis led to years of agitation during the oppressive military regimes of Babangida and Abacha until at just the last moment the country groped its way back from the precipice to the democratic governance it seems we have today. I say, it seems, because Nigeria's democracy is, shall we say, unique. A story for another day. In 1999, Nigeria returned to democratic rule with the election of Olusegun Obasanjo as president. However, the election was also marred by violence, particularly in the northern states. Specifically, in the states of Katsina, Kano and Kaduna, more than 1,000 people were killed, and many more thousands injured. The violence was triggered by political thugs and party loyalists who sought to intimidate others and control their respective regions. The 2003 presidential election, won by the incumbent Olusegun Obasanjo, was not any better in terms of violence and electoral fraud. The 2007 and 2011 presidential elections were both won by the People's Democratic Party, PDP. However, both elections were also stained by violence and allegations of fraud. The violence was due to many factors, including ethnic and religious tensions, and political rivals clashing over the results.
It's resulted in a soaring death toll and left tens of thousands of people displaced. On the surface, signs may point to religious divisions. President Goodluck Jonathan is a Christian from the south. His political rival Muhammadu Buhari, a Muslim from the north. But the walking wounded tell.
The 2007 presidential election, won by Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and arguably the most violent, led to the death and injury of thousands, especially in the states of Plateau, Nasarawa and Bauchi. In 2011, after the victory of Goodluck Jonathan at the polls, there was post-electoral violence concentrated mostly in the northern states such as Kaduna, Bauchi and Plateau. This time at least 800 people were killed and thousands injured. The 2015 and 2019 presidential elections, won by Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressives Congress, APC, marked a shift away from widespread violence towards a more peaceful and fair electoral process. However, there were still reports of violence and intimidation in some parts of the country. In 2015, there were less deaths reported, with only a handful recorded in specific states and mostly being sporadic incidents rather than large-scale crises. The 2019 election was also considered to be less violent, with minor clashes reported in a few areas, leading to a relatively low death toll. The violence was attributed to dissatisfaction and mistrust among political rivals, and also widespread economic and security crisis leading many Nigerians to frustration and anger. One constant factor in all of this is the role of political actors and their supporters who don't shy away from underhanded and many times violent means to influence electoral outcomes. This includes vote buying, underage voting, ballot snatching, voter intimidation and physical attacks against rivals. This has led to a culture of fear and mistrust, making it difficult for many Nigerians to fully participate in the democratic process. If Nigeria must get it right, it is important for all political actors to reject violence and work towards peaceful and fair electoral processes with the active engagement of all members of the society, especially youth groups. However, just recently, news media in Nigeria carried headlines warning that the coming elections might be cancelled due to fears of violence around and during the elections. Seemingly on cue, there was another report, quoting the Nigeria Army, stressing that a military coup was not in the future of the country. Reading between the lines doesn't give one a lot of reasons to be hopeful, but when the history and reality of politics in the country has always had the trappings of bloodshed, at this point, hope probably is the only thing Nigerians have going for them. You have to ask, though, when is enough going to be enough? When will the frustration boil over and people hit breaking point? If anything was learned from the Arab Spring, it is that it takes just one spark, one killing, one injustice too many, to break the camel's back. The same thing is currently playing out in Iran. Will the next one be in Nigeria? Just before you go, we are pushing out new stuff in the days and weeks ahead, so subscribing to this channel would sure make a lot of sense. A few days ago, we released our first video looking at politics in Nigeria and what Nigerians expect of the current presidential candidates. You can watch it right here. Like and share this video if you found it interesting, and we will see you in the next one.